So, I've got a story for you today that sounds like it's straight out of a movie. What if I told you there was a man, completely paralyzed, with a body so shattered that doctors literally told his family to start planning the funeral? And then, what if that same man, lying there, decided he was going to walk out of that hospital? And then he actually did it. Well, this is the incredible true story of Morris Goodman, a man they call the Miracle Man.
I mean, you have to understand, after a catastrophic plane crash, the medical verdict wasn't just a suggestion, it was absolute. The doctors told Morris Goodman that his life, as he knew it, was over. He was basically going to exist only from the neck up, a prisoner in his own body, totally dependent on machines just to stay alive. It was a prognosis with zero hope.
But this is where the story gets interesting, because inside that completely broken body was a mind that had already been trained to see the world differently. This whole explainer is really about the unbelievable power of our own will, and what can happen when a person just flat out refuses to accept the impossible as their reality.
Now, to really get the miracle, we have to rewind a bit. We got to understand the man before the accident. You see, Morris Goodman wasn't just born with this kind of superhuman determination. He actually had to build it, piece by piece.
In his early 20s, Morris was, well, he was kind of like a lot of us, right? He wanted to be successful, he wanted to make money, but he just had no idea how to get there. No clear path, no real purpose. He even dropped out of college, just feeling totally adrift.
And then, everything changed. He came across the book Think and Grow Rich, and this one sentence just lit him up. For Morris, this wasn't just some nice, fluffy quote. No, it became like an operating system for his brain. These words were burned into his mind, giving him the focus he'd been searching for. And boy, did he apply it. With this new, relentless focus, he got into the insurance business. Within just 4 years, he was one of the top salesmen in the entire company. You fast forward 15 years, and he's got his own successful business, a beautiful home, the nice cars, everything he had once only dreamed about. He had made real just by using his mind.
So here he is, living proof that his philosophy works. Life is pretty much perfect. And then, in a split second, that same philosophy was about to face the ultimate, most brutal test imaginable.
The timing of this is just tragic. He spends 15 years meticulously building his dream life. On his 35th birthday, to celebrate it all, he buys his own airplane. And the very next day, on his very first flight, the engine dies and he crashes straight into high-voltage power lines. The list of injuries is just apocalyptic. His body was essentially destroyed from the inside out. Lungs ruptured, diaphragm destroyed. His spine was broken in 2 places, his neck was broken. Vocal cords crushed, swallowing reflex gone. He was completely paralyzed from the neck down.
The damage was so bad, the doctors couldn't even risk putting him under general anesthesia for the 9-hour surgery it took to just try and piece him back together. And when they were finally done, they pulled his sister aside and gave her the grim news. From a medical standpoint, it was over.
But Morris woke up the next morning, and in unimaginable pain, he made a choice that completely defied all medical logic. And it all happened in the first minute of his new, shattered reality.
Lying there, he looked at the clock, and he told himself, Just endure this for one more second. A minute passed. Okay, I'll endure for one more minute. After just 5 minutes of doing this powerful thought hit him. If he could choose to endure the pain, then he could also choose to recover. That same mental muscle he'd spent 15 years building to achieve success, he was now flexing it for the ultimate goal, survival. And right there, he made a silent, unbreakable promise to himself that he would walk out of that hospital.
Making that commitment? That was actually the easy part. Now came the monumental, seemingly impossible task of rebuilding a body that science had already written off.
Okay, first goal, breathe on his own. With a destroyed diaphragm, this was supposed to be impossible. So he practiced in secret, hundreds of times a day, just forcing air into his lungs. And he never told the doctors. You know why? He was terrified they'd tell him to stop, that it couldn't be done. And he knew he couldn't afford to let a single shred of doubt creep into his mind. 2.5 months later, they took the ventilator away for good.
But the frustration of this journey, it's almost impossible to imagine. To try and retrain his damaged nerves, therapists gave him a simple shape-matching game, the kind a 2-year-old plays with. For this fiercely independent 35-year-old man, he said it was like trying to climb Mount Everest. It took him an entire hour just to match a single shape.
I mean, just think about the patience that takes. We're not talking about days or weeks of recovery here. It took him a year and a half just to get enough fine motor control back to button his own shirt. Every single tiny victory was a marathon of pure, focused will.
Now, through this unbelievable ordeal, Morris didn't really discover new principles. What he did was pressure test the ones he already lived by, forging them in fire into what he calls his laws of persistence.
His first law is all about perspective. A huge goal like walking again can feel paralyzing because it's so far away, but a goal like endure for one more second, that's always achievable. He teaches that victory isn't about winning the whole war at once. It's just about winning the only battle you actually control, which is this single moment right now.
He absolutely refused to ask why me. He wouldn't allow for an ounce of self-pity. Instead, he just clung to that other Napoleon Hill idea: every adversity carries the seed of an equivalent or greater benefit. He didn't know how he would get better. He only knew that he would, and that this insane challenge held a hidden opportunity somewhere inside it.
And finally, and this one is so key, Morris believed that he didn't need to find strength from somewhere outside himself. It was already in there. It's like a light switch, right? The power is always in the wires, you just have to flip the switch and complete the circuit. For him, completing that circuit meant getting rid of all doubt and focusing 100% of his mental energy on that one single goal.
So why does this story matter so much to us? Because these aren't just rules for surviving a plane crash. They're universal principles for overcoming pretty much any challenge you can think of, big or small.
And did he do it? Oh, you bet he did. He set a target for himself. Walk out of the hospital by Christmas. He walked out, completely unassisted, a full month ahead of schedule. The same doctors who once told his family to plan his funeral could only stand there, shake their heads, and call him the Miracle Man.
So that leaves us with this one big question. Morris Goodman's story kind of forces us to look in the mirror and ask ourselves, if we could borrow just a tiny fraction of his certainty, his absolute refusal to doubt, what impossible goal would we set for ourselves? What miracle is just waiting for us to decide to make it happen?